It's a little chilly outside, but I feel nice and cuddly in my house. I hope you're going to enjoy your holiday season, and I hope that this information helps you become more aware, more confident, and more capable of experiencing a higher consciousness while you're living inside a body in your day-to-day experience. My name is Carol Merlo, and I'm really grateful to be on this call with you. And hopefully, as we walk through this, you're going to get a great idea of the skills, the tips, the techniques, the tools that you can use to change and transform your life experience. So, this is about transforming your consciousness. I've got about a few different, sorry, I think I got distracted by a little thing. Never mind. Got a few different things to show you, so we're going to take it away. I do have the chat open when you have questions. And excuse me. So I'm going to share my screen and really fascinated with my technology issues, but here it is. Share. Okay, good. Now let me just move a couple things around here so I can see everything I want to see. And hopefully, wait a minute, I'm going to check one thing and see if I can see the chat or the Q&A. It looks like it's the Q&A that's open to me. So if you have questions, feel free to, here's the chat. Never mind, I found it. Wonderful. Okay, I'm good. Got it all. Every time I do this, it's always a learning experience. You know, you always have either a living and loving experience or a learning experience. Both are good. So this is Discover Divine Realms using chi coils and quantum frequencies. And I'm going to be looking back and forth between two screens. The screen you're looking at, and if I could just confirmation that you are actually seeing the PowerPoint slide, could somebody please write in the chat that that's what's happening for you? Great. Okay, good. So here we go. And I did this presentation in September, and it was really well received. And so I hope you're going to like it. Come on, next. There we go. So let's start with me. So I've been doing this a long time. All right. I started studying metaphysics when I was 13. I became trained as a light worker in a technology called Agni Yoga, which means fire yoga. And I learned about light fire, very similar to Reiki, came to find out years and years later. I went to school, got a BS in psychology and then a master's in educational psychology. And then, well, I switched from a psychology master's to counseling and education because I found out that the psychology department or psychology in this particular school, they weren't humanistic at all or even anything spiritual. They thought that the human being is a box, like a Skinnerian behaviorist model, which totally turned me off because I knew that I was spiritual. So I changed my major and I finished out in the education department, hence the master's in education. I spent 15 years as a trainer in direct sales. And during that time, I learned how to lead people and teach them about not just, you see, in order to be a leader in sales, you also have to learn how to manage your own emotions, your communication skills, and your behavior. So I spent a lot of time working with people on that kind of model of leadership and engagement in order to create a more fulfilling life. And so I really got interested in this idea of educating people and particularly adults. And so that's why I love teaching so much. Then I got licensed as a spiritual coach through the Centers for Spiritual Living, and I've been doing that for the last 10 or more years. So that's about me. And so here I'm going to switch. So let's talk first about yo-yoing. I've been watching this really great information lately, and the guy that's teaching this technology he talks about it like a pendulum, like you go back and forth and back and forth. I always think of it as a yo-yo. down and up, down and up, down and up. And the idea of being in touch with your sacred nature is that you don't have any more downs. Your ups are way more. You'll have an occasional down, but it's not a chronic condition like it may have been in the past. And that takes a little bit of skill. So we typically, as beings, or actually as animals, we're driven by pain. Oh gosh, I'm so sorry to tell you that. You probably already figured it out though, right? And the Buddha recognized it way back, what, 3,000 years ago or whenever it was, that pain is the thing that keeps you going in life. It's the constant. And the only way to really get senior to the physical condition is to detach from it. So his mechanism was, like meditate, withdraw, that kind of stuff. Now, in our modern Western world, the philosophy is a little different, but the psychology is still the same. So we are either avoiding pain or pursuing purpose, pleasure, passion, whichever you want to call it. So on this slide over here, you can see this guy, and he's got a hammer and a little monster at the bottom, and he's striving. Are you striving? Striving for fulfillment, striving for joy, striving for freedom of expression, striving for abundance? Well, then you might be like this, where you're pushing yourself and trying hard and it's going uphill. And if you slide back, guess what? You got this hammer hammering you. And if that hammer, it's really subtle. It's really the hammer of conscience. And if you don't have that hammer hammering you, then what happens is you slide down into the scary monster. And that scary monster can be anything from a divorce to some sort of trauma to financial ruin to ill health, right? So you get the idea. So you're either pushing yourself up or you're sliding down. And this is really the typical way people operate in the world. However, there's a different way. And that way is much better. That way is to focus on your passion, to focus on the love, to focus on what is working, and to experience gratitude for that. Now, when you start doing that regularly and you catch yourself when you're not doing it and shift, then what happens is like the guy on the right. Life becomes so much more simple. The hammer is still there. It's your survival mechanism. It's never going to go away because if the need to survive and the mechanism of pain will drive you, but it doesn't have to be the prime motivator in your life. So let's eliminate being driven by pain and start to move forward towards the passion, the purpose, the joy, the abundance. All right, now most of us can feel stuck. Now, the reason for this is it's very comfortable. It's very comfortable to be stuck. And I have known people, I was in domestic violence for a while, and what I would see working with Native American women in particular, and it's probably true for all populations, but what would happen was they would go back. Why? The, the shift into the discomfort of what it takes to create a life that works was harder than the discomfort of living in the pain. So where are you? Where's your box? And where would you like to shift? And I'm going to tell you, it's going to take a little bit of work. We have some cool tools that are going to make that easier. Nevertheless, this requires effort and practice. So let's talk about the comfort zone, because that's what this is, right? Being in your box is where you're comfortable. If you look at this slide here, you can see that this first place, the center, is your old comfort zone. This is where you live normally. And if you don't do much in terms of personal growth, you hang out there all the time. And notice it is not a solid line. You can at any time move into a new comfort zone. But what happens is you get an experience of discomfort because it's the unknown. Now, if you expand and practice being in this new comfort zone, you get used to being uncomfortable for a while, you practice, pretty soon that becomes your new comfort zone. Okay, that's how you expand and that's how you grow. And then you have a new comfort zone or a new level of discomfort out there, the unknown. And so as you expand, you get into a new desired state. But this is often a process of being courageous, moving into the uncomfort, allowing your mind to recognize, oh, this isn't as scary as I thought it was. I can live here, making it your new normal, and then moving forward again to expand into the next state. All right, now this is a picture of the stuff that's holding you back. So consider this bubble as your comfort zone. And there you are in the middle. And look at all these little bubbles. These are the things that are holding you back. You have fear of failure, past losses, poor self-esteem, counter intention, meaning, let's say you go, yes, but, or you have the tapes of people in your past that were telling you you couldn't do it. That kind of stuff will often keep you right here where you are, stuck. Fatigue, illness, past conflicts, physical pain, all of that kind of stuff holds you in place so you're not moving forward. Definitely not getting into the divine realms at this place. But the truth of the matter is, you're stronger than your shadow. We can consider what's outside of you or what's unconscious as the shadow. Typically, the shadow represents those suppressed states of consciousness that we don't want to confront, the things we don't want to deal with. Because what's underneath in this shadow are these things: past failures, not feeling like you're enough, being told that you can't, fear of the future. Fear of the future is really interesting, right? That is you not wanting to move forward because you're terrified it's going to get worse. And that's where anxiety comes from as well. The truth of the matter is, you're stronger than your shadow because you are none of these things, even though you get caught in the trap of believing that you are. It starts with your vision. How strong is your vision? It always starts with a vision. A vision is, what is it that you want? Now, I have talked to people, quite a few. In fact, this happens often with adults. Remember when you were a little kid, at least for me, I had Santa Claus, and every Christmas, great time of year talking about this, I'd go through the Sears catalog. That's how old I am. Or and other people, children will write a list to Santa Claus. Well, I want this and this and this. Excuse me. They have no back off as far as imagining what they want. Children are also able to go play and invent realities, play with people. And I love watching children play with dolls, for example. They can invent an entire scenario that we as adults often can't do because we have been trained out of wanting because of we try and fail, try and fail, try and fail. So then you just basically give up. All right. But you need the vision to start. And if you don't have a vision, let's say you do expand your comfort zone, you're way out there. And then what happens? Excuse me for my nose. You snap right back because you need tools, you need affirmations, you need skills, or it looks like this. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's scary. All of a sudden, you're seeing nothing. You're in the nothing. So this is what happens. All of this work that you worked on to get out, you're back there again. You're back to ground zero as far as your personal growth. Now, let's see, is there anybody here going to do a chat? You can tell me, yeah, that's me, or I get it. That would be very helpful. And if not, I'm going on. Now, we need to use tools. I find, I have talked to people and I occasionally get people at our events that say, well, cheat coils are just a tool. I can do it without them. Well, yay for you, but I'll tell you what, the majority of human beings need support. We need tools like cheat coils in order to enhance the ability for our conscious intention to move us out of old, negative, enclosed, dark states. All right, so let's talk first about the two frequencies I like to use here and they're in quantum and higher quantum. In fact, I was playing this one today, Deep Transformation. I think it's still playing right now. And isn't it great? Like this is a tool that I'm going to explain to you how it works in a minute, but a tool that can shift you out of your current state into a new enhanced state. Now, quantum also has some really good ones. This one's brainwave enhancement, balance, and clarity, because a lot of times it's our brain waves. We're stuck and we're stuck and we're stuck, and you just need a shift in the brainwave in order to get to this next level or get free to experience the divinity that you are, the divinity that's around you and within you. So what we got to do is shift our unconscious thinking habits. The chi coils are going to help, honestly. Oh, help me tremendously. So it starts with the understanding that everything is frequency, energy, frequency, and vibration. And Nikola Tesla and Einstein both were really advocates of this point of view that ultimately the reality is, in fact, all quantum mechanics is talking about that frequency or quantum physics, I guess, that reality is boils down to frequency. Frequency has time, so it's in time, and frequency is reality. Everything, everything vibrates. It's pretty amazing. It's all frequencies. I love this little picture of this girl with the antenna because that's what you are. You are a being that has a vibratory signature that you can modify and enhance. And you're not only a receiver, you're also a sender. And as you send out or become aligned with the higher frequencies, the higher self, then your external world starts to shift and change. So we are pure energy having a physical experience. Bodies, cells, molecules, elements, electrons, protons, ions are held together by a magnetic field. Now, does that sound similar to chi coils? We're doing something in a magnetic field, aren't we? Everything has an energy field. This blows my mind, you guys. Really, when I started learning this, now I love this picture on the top. You can see how, and I don't recall exactly what this is. It reminds me of iron filings, but notice the communication. So here's one entity, say, with a frequency, and it engages with another entity that has a frequency, and they interact with each other. And I'm going to talk more and more about that as we go through the night. Notice also that moving electricity creates magnetic fields, and moving magnets create electrical charges. So this is an interdependent relationship, electromagnetism. You can notice here that there's poles, right? That the magnets have like a receiver side and a sender side. Well, you are like an electromagnet. You have a receiver side and a sender side. We call it yin and yang or yang. And the planet also works and operates using these energetic fields and gravitational fields as well. So the human body has a biofield. You are not just your body. You are not just your body. Now, if you can, and many people can, you can sense being beyond your body, outside of your body, that you are larger than the physical form. Notice this picture here, and I like the little, what would you call that? In and out things from the chakras. The chakras have their own energy fields. Okay. And so they also send energy in and out of the body and through the body. And this whole sphere here that you can see interacts with other spheres. So you're an energy field primarily. This energy field can be measured and felt. Not as well as the physical body. The energy in the physical body is easier. The energy in the brain's easier for scientists to measure. However, the energy field can be measured. So Every single thought or feeling is connected to a particular brainwave. This is the other thing that's so significant. When you recognize that every one of your thoughts is just a frequency, every thought, it's not real. Thoughts are thoughts. Thoughts just have a consciousness of their own. However, they're not something that is tangible, that modulates. It's immutable. Thought is something that moves all the time. And so as soon as you recognize, and I did this in a meditation a while back, recognized like, oh, I was thinking about some anxiety thing, and I went, oh, wow, that's just a thought. That thought isn't real. It's just a thought. I have power over my thoughts. I can think whatever I want. There's nobody telling me to think a certain way. I can think whatever I want in this meditation, and you can think whatever you want anytime. Now, brain waves mirror your cognitive, emotional, and physical states. So this is a printout of brain waves. Maybe it's an electrocardiogram, I'm not sure. But the point is, if you were a musician or you've ever done any audio modifications, right? You record something and you have a track and a track and a track and a track, and you can play with each track and change its frequencies. And then you can balance and align each of the tracks. Well, you can do the same thing as a human being because you are multiple frequencies. You are a multi-dimensional consciousness in physical form. So let's talk about how to shift your brain waves. I do a meditation talk where I go through all of the things, all of the different frequencies that the brain has, the brain waves, and what happens at each state. It's a great little talk. I don't have enough time for it tonight, but hopefully I'll be doing that soon. So we use our tools, and I'm going to teach you some more tools tonight, and then create and maintain an intention, which is very important. Remember in the back, way back long ago, in the beginning of this talk, I was talking about vision. That's your intention. What do you intend for it to be? What do you intend for your life to be? And how do you want to experience that? And then practice intentional meditation. Now, I also do a great little talk. I just talked about it. I do this great talk. I can't emphasize it enough on meditation and how powerful it is and how so many people have difficulty with it. But once you learn the process, then it's not intimidating and you can easily practice it every day. All right, I first want to talk about entrainment. Entrainment, and if you go to heartmath.com, you can learn all about the relationship between the brain and the heart, and also entrainment between individuals. And so what you're seeing here, notice this is the biosphere, the energy field is what I like to call it, that each individual has. It's in the shape of a torus. And notice that our chi coils are in the shape of a torus. And so the energy works like a convection oven, right? It goes up and around, all the way around you like a donut, right? It also goes round and round and round. And the chakras have that same kind of mechanism, how they move. So let's say you are one person and you come into the energy field of another person, then you guys are experiencing entrainment. Think of this as a Venn diagram, and where the two intersect, that is where you're sharing consciousness. You're sharing your frequency. And the rule is the higher frequency supersedes the lower frequency. So you can raise up somebody else's consciousness that's in a lower state. So let's look at some definitions here. Entrainment is where two or more rhythmic cycles synchronize with each other. Now, there's a lot of, oh my gosh, there's just so many places where you can see this in the world. We can talk about fireflies or menstrual cycles, pendulums and clocks that will, in the same proximity of each other, the pendulums will align and harmonize, and even brainwave patterns that will synchronize with music, or if you're laying with somebody and your heartbeats start to match, your brain waves also start to match each other. Now, there's energetic entrainment, which is where we talk about mostly, because we're dealing in a more of an energetic kind of conversation here. So if you'll notice, like in Reiki, people, they use tuning forks, so that you can use crystals to align, and also the PEMF, the chi coils, and that aligns with the body's natural frequencies. This is so interesting. So they did this study. Now, this is theta brainwaves, theta. And theta is very, very slow, okay? And so they introduced this to this subject, and they notice on the very left, my little mouse here, you can see that the energy, or the orange and red, that's where the energy is, this person was really focused in their left brain. So this is like the visual cortex. This is also where thinking, words, all that kind of stuff happens. And then after 15 minutes, it starts to centralize. You can see a lot of energy here in the middle. However, after 25 minutes, that brain is balanced. So if you're listening to chi frequencies for 25 minutes, this is what happens. You start to become aligned within your own brain. And that is entrainment that happens there. That's how it works. Now, when the body or mind is out of balance, then sound frequencies can help to entrain and bring you back in balance. Sound frequencies are so fundamental to our well-being, in fact, in all of nature. So, and it's something we're way more familiar with sound healing than we are with frequency healing. However, we're getting the word out, aren't we? Hello, slide, there you are. So think about listening to music. And it doesn't matter if you're speaking and singing, if you're using crystal bowls, if you're listening to a symphony or a rock concert, whatever it is, music is going to give you some sort of state. You're going to move into a certain state and train with that music, whether it's, hip hop and it makes you happy, or musical theater, whatever it is, music will influence your emotions and your energy levels. Now, here's a study. So they did singing bowls and meditation on mood, tension, and well-being, and they found that it absolutely does. How long ago was this? 2017. It absolutely does. Now, this is an hour long, but people reduced their tension, their stress, their depression, and started to experience a sense of spiritual well-being. An hour of listening. An hour of listening. Now, here's another one, and this is really interesting because now we're transitioning from just psychological states like stress to physiological states like pain. Okay, so this study, 10 treatments twice a week for 5 weeks of low frequency sound stimulation, improves sleep and decreased pain, allowing nearly 3/4 of the participants to reduce their pain medication. That's amazing to me. Okay, I get because I'm using it, I get it, but wow, that sound can cause people to reduce their pain. Let's talk about what low frequency energy is. So here's the entire electromagnetic spectrum. And over here, you can see this color here, that's light. But down here at the very far left is brain waves, sound waves, and PEMF magnetic frequencies. Okay, they're all at this very low end. And at the very high end, you have toxicity. So when we're talking about EMF, and when people say that, they're actually talking about ionizing EMF that damages you. On the low end, these are all harmonized together. They're all synchronized. Thought, music, PEMF, all synchronized together. Now, you can take a screenshot of this if you want, but these are the frequencies that help with meditation. Because what's going to happen is, I'm saying like a half an hour a day. I'm asking you to sit down and listen. You can have it in the background, that works too, but not as well. If you really want to shift yourself, stop and listen and experience the coils do their work. And literally, for me, it's a sensation. I can feel the vibration in the frequencies. Some people can't. Doesn't mean it's not working. Okay, so any of these are really great. And the basic frequencies are available to anybody, and all you got to do is register and you can get them. These are the quantum frequencies, and that's in the Q, they call it Q2, and that's really great. It's available on the Resonant Console. And you get a lot more and way more in abundance, by the way. It's pretty great. So I want to talk about solfeggio frequencies. I watched about three shows on YouTube the other day about solfeggio frequencies. And this is so interesting because the Gregorian chants way back, they developed a scale that harmonizes with some key vibrations that you can tune into and experience that will alter your states of consciousness. And that's why so many people, when they listen to Gregorian chants, get that sense of meditative spirituality. So, and my second musical instrument was a guitar. And the tuning fork for a guitar is A440. Well, it turns out the A440 is a modern tuning, and solfeggio frequencies don't use A440. They have a lower one, I think it's let's see, 436, I believe. And that, when you listen to that, that shifts you incredibly, whereas A440 is a little bit energetically off. If you're into music, it just turns me on to think about all this stuff. Okay, so here's 9 solfeggio frequencies, and they have different sound patterns. They positively impact mental, emotional, and physical health, and they are unique. And here's an example of the music that the monks would sing. They probably still do. If you go to any Catholic church, often you can hear these Gregorian chants. Here's the different frequencies: 417, 396, 285, 528. Now, when you go into your Resonant Console or you go onto the tablet, or excuse me, online and look at these frequencies, it explains them right there. It explains what you are experiencing. And so it's very helpful. The reason I like these so much is they're very easy to listen to, very easy to meditate to. This and the chakras are probably that and Schumann resonance. They're my favorites. Okay, so here they are. So each one, and you can see they've even given you a little clue as to what each one does. Undoing situations is really trippy because that means you got a situation that you would like to undo. How many of us have that? I got one going on right now. Okay, so this is very useful, facilitating change. And create that in your environment and watch what happens, especially if you have a relationship issue or something. Guilt or fear, releasing guilt and fear. This is another thing that holds us back so much from experiencing our divine nature. Deep healing from within, pain management, and then we have these others: transformation, miracles, connecting in relationship, intuition, inner strength, and higher mind. Honestly, you want to shift out of where you are, start playing solfeggio frequencies every day. Do it for a month and take note of what's going on as you experience this. Now, I talked about entrainment earlier. Next, I want to talk about entanglement. Entanglement is a completely another animal altogether. So, quantum physics, remember I started with this. When particles become entangled, they share a quantum state. Changing the properties of one particle will instantly change the properties of the other, even if they're separated by vast distances, suggesting that the information between them is shared instantaneously. Now, how does this happen? How can this possibly be? It makes absolutely no sense that one particle in one part of the universe is interacting and communicating with another particle, regardless of distance. That means it's outside of the space-time continuum. This is important to understand because when we're talking about spiritual realms, divine realms, they are not in the space-time continuum. They filter down into the space-time continuum, especially when you use your tools. However, they are not located there. Now, metaphysically, in the context of distance healing, this is when two people's energy fields become entangled. One person's state can influence the others, even if you're not in the same room or the same country. It doesn't matter how far because we're using the principle of entanglement. Okay, so the intended effect that the healer has can be received by the recipient. So I love this because this is so interesting. It talks about how entanglement is the beginning. So for distance healing, entanglement is what starts first. And then when you and I are entangled, and like right now, you are listening and watching this video, whether you're watching the recording or not, it doesn't matter because you're in tune with the consciousness that I'm emanating. So we are entangled. Now, especially if I were to do a spiritual mind treatment with you, then we become entrained. And the consciousness that I have and I am experiencing then transmits into yours, especially with your agreement. And then you start to experience a spiritual shift. This is represented particularly in Reiki. Dr. Usui, who founded Reiki, he created an entire system using distance healing. And in Qigong also, they use distance healing, mastery of life force energy to influence a person's health from afar. And so this is not the only case. Christians in prayer, regular prayer, is a form, even though it's a less less open, more structured form. It's a form of distance healing because in the case of Christianity, you're asking an intermediary like Jesus to do the work. And that's totally fine, right? It works. Doesn't matter. As far as I'm concerned, it works no matter what. The idea is the entanglement that happens when two beings are together in consciousness. All right, so let's look at these chi coils for a minute and look at all of the different frequencies or modalities. So we have the Taurus sacred field that I talked about in the beginning. And chi coils utilize this energy field a lot. The smaller ones, and have you ever noticed the smaller ones, the energy field's like 2 feet, then it gets a little bigger, 10, 11 feet, then it's 20 feet, then it's huge, 6,000 square feet, something like that, really big. So the energy field is really important to understand when we're talking about chi coils. Then we have sound healing, crystals, PEMF, and scalar, and even more. And so I want to go over each one of these so you get a good understanding of what this is. Now, before I do that, I want to talk about Royal Rife. Royal Rife. Here was a guy that invents a microscope way back in 1924. And in 1934, oh gosh, and it took him 10 years. He discovers the microorganisms moving around. He recognizes that they have frequencies, that different cells have different frequencies. And so cancer cells have a different frequency than a healthy cell. How he did this, I do not know, but he was using light. It was like a light microscope. And somehow the light reflected off the frequencies of these things. And he thought, oh, why don't I create frequencies that are of a healthy cell and send those frequencies to the organism and watch what happens? Well, what happened was his 16 patients got cured of cancer. But this was very, 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 how do I say, the AMA didn't like it. Remember, the AMA had an agenda and still does. The goal is to cure the goal isn't to treat, not cure, treat, not cure, right? So that way people keep coming back. But what if you cure somebody? Well, you just lost yourself a patient. So they shut him down. And then in the 70s, there was a resurgence of his technology. Now there's a lot of Rife machines on the market, typically pretty expensive. And, there's thousands of Rife frequencies that have been developed. Really, really cool. And I'll tell you what, the chi coils are a lot cheaper because they provide so much more than just Rife frequencies. But the Rife frequencies are there, and when you have a specific situation, they're great. Now, crystal resonance. People have been using crystals for how long? Millennia? Maybe before. Crystals have resonance. And those people that are into crystals know this, that each crystal, go to a crystal store sometime, really awesome. Each crystal does a different thing, but the amplitude is really small, right? It's not like going to bowl you over. But in the chi coils, there's crystals embedded which get augmented and amplified so that you have a stronger experience with the crystals. So they absorb energy from pressure and movement, convert it to an electronic frequency, and then that's what gives people so much benefit. And I'm sure you have a crystal around. You may wear a crystal around your neck or around your wrist, and those are great. And they are just a less powerful way of doing this. We want to create and achieve more magnitude of experience, right? Okay, let's talk about PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic frequency devices. Now, 6 months ago, I didn't know what this was, so I had to learn. And so I love this because it says every cell in your body produces electromagnetic fields. And in fact, cells communicate with each other using electromagnetic frequencies. Did you know that? I didn't. I had no idea that that's how cells communicated. I knew that the brain, excuse me, I knew that the brain had wiring and, like brain waves and that kind of thing, but cells communicate this way too. So PEMF therapy uses electrical energy to send magnetic pulses. So remember, the energy creates the magnetism. The electricity creates the magnetism, but the PEMF device is really magnetic. So it's magnetic pulses, and it goes through the body, penetrates your cells and tissues and organs. Like a catalyst, a catalyst causes things to happen without itself changing. So that's what PEMF does. And that stimulates the cells so they can reboot and feel better. So whatever your situation is, whether it's a thyroid or an abdomen or heartbreak or anger or stuckness, mental fog, your condition can be ameliorated with PEMF. Guaranteed. Can't say that enough. So Rife frequencies aren't PEMF. If you want to get down to the details, Rife frequencies are low frequency EMF. However, the resonant console provides the Rife frequencies because they're so beneficial. And then you play them through the coils, they become magnified. Okay? And so they both work really, really well. And there's just some more stuff here about pathogens, pain relief, bone healing. And so when you start to practice and experiment with this, then you're really going to enjoy it. It's really cool. All right, so here's all of kind of in a nutshell what PEMF does. Remember, chi coils are a PEMF device. So it reduces pain, alleviates the negative effects of stress. And by the way, stress is the #1 killer, right? Stress creates havoc in your body. You're not designed to have chronic stress, you need to get rid of it. The meditation trick I showed you, it's really good for this. But just playing the coils and being in the environment of the coils really, really helps, especially throughout the day. Okay, improves your energy and your sleep, repairs injured bone and soft tissue. Wow. Lowers blood pressure, increases circulation, and augments meditation. Now, when you go in there and you go, let's say you pick one of your frequency things, one of these boxes, like this one, balance frequency of wholeness. You go in there and it's got a bunch of these different, like a playlist, right? With all these different shapes, like slow pulse and sawtooth and sine, square trance. I mean, what is that? Well, I had to know. So I looked it up, and this is what it is. So a sine wave, so here's sine, 360 sine, and that's best for general relaxation. Then we have the square wave, it's 360 square. Notice they're the same frequency, but a different shape. So this is good for pain relief, muscle stimulation, sawtooth, there's the next one. Versatile for comprehensive wellness and energy levels and recovery. And then triangle. I happen to love triangle. I can listen to triangle and sine waves all day long. And so you'll find the thing that really appeals to you. So this is really important to understand, and hopefully you will get the replay of this and you will take a screenshot so you get to understand what these different shapes do. Okay, now I'm going to talk about Schumann resonance because this is really the genesis of PEMF therapy, if you will. So here's this guy, 1952. His name is Winfried Otto Schumann. And he thought, well, hey, man, I think there's resonance, that the earth actually vibrates. And he found that this 7.83 hertz, you know how low that is on the electromagnetic spectrum? I mean, almost negligible. A very, very, very weak electromagnetic field or energy field or pulse. Okay. An amplitude of only a few microvolts. So you can't feel it typically. You have no idea it's there. We've been living on Earth this whole time without knowing about it. But it's there and it bounces. It's created by bouncing electromagnetic waves between the Earth's surface and the ionosphere. So that's the picture. Now they've subsequently found after Schumann that there's other Schumann resonances, not just 7.83. So why it affects us? This is you guys, you can tell I love doing research. So here's a study of Caltech that shows that the brain, check this out, not just the brain, but the pineal gland has magnetic crystals in it. Yeah. And absorption follows a classic physics process of resonance matching frequency. So this is why your brain responds to these frequencies. Isn't that a hoot? Wow. Okay, so brain tissue contains a minimum of negative 5 million crystals per gram, distributed in 50,000 to 100,000 discrete clusters. Wow. This is a representation here. Electromagnetic signals within the brain are supported via biochemical systems. So Schumann resonance affects melatonin and serotonin balance. Melatonin is produced in the pineal gland, right, where all these little magnetic crystals are. And serotonin is developed in the brain and in the gut as well. And so notice this says resulting in several illnesses. What they're saying is the imbalance. If these are not imbalanced, you manifest these diseases. Not a well-written sentence, whoever did this study, but there it is. Okay, now this is really interesting too. So this was done in the 60s. Now remember, Schumann was 52, right? He develops this theory of 7.83. Well, they decide to test it. And so they created these bunkers that are shielded bunkers and no frequencies can get in. And they had subjects go in there and they started to experience things like migraines and depression, emotional instability. And so they deteriorated. And so that what they did was this, because it's a scientific experiment, then they put a low, like a 7.83 generator inside the bunker. People got fine. They felt fine. They got well. No more headaches. Yeah. And then so this is when, I'll go back here. This is the 1960s, around the same time we're starting to go into the space race. And so now these astronauts start going out into outer space, and they get outside of the electromagnetic field of the planet, or the gravitational field of the planet. And they start to feel sick, losing their strength, losing their energy. And the NASA scientists did some research. They found out about this Schumann resonance, and they developed these. See this box here that's on the spacesuit? That is a Schumann resonance generator. And so then when they started doing this, the astronauts did not feel sick anymore, and they were able to be outside the atmosphere and do just fine. Really cool. So NASA did over 2,000 studies on this. And really, the general population knows nothing about this. Okay, now let's talk about yin, yang, and scalar. It feels like a shift. The transition is we're going back to the field now. I just wanted you to understand this Schumann resonance. Oh, by the way, you would think, okay, so we got Schumann resonance. I'm living on Earth. I don't need it. I play it every single night. This is where I feel like I'm drinking in energy. This is one of the best of all the frequencies as far as I'm concerned. It's really, really good. And I play solfeggio and chakras and all that kind of stuff throughout the day. But the nighttime, I replenish myself with Schumann frequencies. All right, yin, yang, and scalar. Now let's look at this picture here. So here's two chi coils. Each of them is sending out energy. One is a yin coil, one is a yang coil. Yin meaning magnetic, yang meaning dynamic. So yin receives, yang sends, just like a magnet, right? With the dynamic side and the magnetic side. When they meet in the middle, they create something called scalar waves. So let's talk about that a little bit so you can see the additional benefit that having the 3S or higher coils provides. So here is an energy field. This is your energy field. And notice I added this on, I created this because it's not just the one. You have an emotional body and a physical body, a matrix body, a mental body, soul body. You have a number of bodies which each have an energy field. And so as you move interdimensionally, it becomes finer and finer in terms of perception. However, they interact with, because it's coaxial and coincidental. Coaxial, they all share the same axis. Coincidental, meaning they all share the same time. And so you are this multidimensional being occupying a physical space. At the same time, we've got, notice it has a right and a front, a dynamic and a magnetic, like we talked about before. Now we talk about chakras. We talked about the chakras. And notice in this graphic, the chakras go below the physical body because the main ones, the 6 that you normally think of, that's just the main ones. There's a lot of others. As you develop your understanding of chakras, you'll start to develop or sense into these other ones. And then there's the yin yang of the coils. So each of these chakras has a yin and a yang aspect to it. And the body and the energy field of the body have a yin and yang aspect. All right. So the goal is energy balance. And what's happening in our society right now? How many people are experiencing energy balance? Well, not too many. Why? We are yanged out, baby. We got so much yang going on, so much male energy, so much aggression, domination, fast activity, constantly changing, all that kind of stuff. People don't know how to relax and shift and receive. We did a oh, what do you call it? An experience, an event the other night with we have these aura coils, big aura coils, four of them, right? And so this woman at the end, I was talking about yin and yang. She said, I don't know how to receive. And that was the perfect example of what's going on. We are so out focused, outward focused, moving out, shifting out. Everything's out, but the in is where you receive and balance and restore. This is where you align yourself with your spiritual nature, your divine nature. Not in the doing, it's in the being. And that's why we need balance. So that's why the mini coils are great. And the yin coils are great because they're providing you with this yin energy, enhancing your ability to receive. And it's so fundamental to your well-being and your spiritual growth. So this is so good, you guys. The first, I would say, 5 or 6 weeks that I owned chi coils, I used yin only. I was hungry for it. I needed it so badly. And every time I tried the yang coil with it, it didn't feel good. Yin coil, great. Now I use both, obviously, because it's been a while. But in the beginning, this is all I wanted. I was too yanged out. All right. So enhances your meditation, supports regeneration and healing. And you can use it before bed, during meditation, and actually all day long. If you tend to be a sympathetic nervous system type person, a driver or a stress monger or a adrenaline junkie, then the yin coil is really, really helpful and will actually augment your spiritual nature in your physical body, in your experience. Now, you can also use the yang coil only. Let's say you're the type of person that has got lethargy going on. You're having trouble getting out of bed. You're just, I used to be like every afternoon, I would just go, no energy, right? Well, some people will drink coffee. Try a yang coil. Just allow yourself to experience the energy. Now, it's weird because it doesn't feel like anything's happening. All of a sudden, you just are different. You are energetic. Before you weren't, now you are. So it's different than this, like a chemical kind of experience. And all of a sudden, you're like energetic and you have concentration, you feel good. And so you can go out throughout your day without burning out and feeling like you got to go take a nap at 2 o'clock. Really awesome. Okay, slide, move. There. Okay, now we're going to talk about scalar. Remember my picture of the two coils coming together and what happens in the middle? Well, this is called scalar waves, also known as Tesla waves. And this is so interesting because I don't know that much about electromagnetism. So as I do research, I go, wow, that's cool. Transverse waves of electromagnetism move up and down perpendicularly to the direction they are heading. Tesla waves are different than that. They vibrate. They vibrate in line with the direction of propagation. So, and you can see an example of this. Let's see, blah, 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 blah. Okay, great. I read that sentence weird, but you got what I meant. So let's look at a drop of water in water ripples. Notice how it expands out. So this is what scalar energy does. It's not directional, it's expanding, moving out like water ripples. And it moves up and down, but it also propagates outward. Interesting the use of the word propagate here. So it has magnitude and direction, and it's non-electromagnetic. Guess what else? It has no frequency. It's not that the two frequencies coming together cancel each other out. They become 0 point energy, which is source energy. This is chi. Chi has no frequency. It is the source. Think of it as the creator or the creative potentiality of manifestation. When you are in that, that's when you are in the divine consciousness. So here's some other examples. It's produced when two equal but opposite waves collide and converge. It says the opposing can't cancel each other out. It's not really quite like that, but it's converted into a longitudinal, static, or stationary form of electricity and zero frequency, 0 point energy, etc. Scalar cancels out EMF signals. So remember when I was showing you the electromagnetic spectrum and there was all of the high frequency toxic stuff? If you are in a scalar environment, doesn't mean that those things aren't still there, the high frequency toxic stuff. It's just that you don't react to it. You don't respond to it. It shields you from the harmful EMF frequencies. So the getting started information, there's a PDF you can download on the website, and it shows you different ways to place these. So you can create your own scalar environment. Here, you got yin going out and yang going out, which is kind of interesting. I usually do yin in, yang out, but between these two is scalar, right in the center. If you're sitting, say you're sitting in a chair or you're in a lotus position, that's okay too. Basically, you're hitting your solar plexus and your sacral chakras right between there. And this is really the organizing center of your body and also where harmony and love is generated. Now, you can also have it on your desk, front and back. You're still getting the scalar experience. And then here, this is really interesting. You put the two together, and we bought little Velcro strips so we could tie the two together, and it works really, really well. So that way you can hold them on your body without having to physically hold them with your hands. Now, just as an example of the differences, you can see Rife frequency here. Remember when I said it's just EMF? It's just one frequency, one frequency. And although many people will experience tinnitus if they listen to it, other people may experience pleasure. Experiment with it. See what you think. Binaural beats, now that's really popular, right? And binaural beats is two individual frequencies, one in one ear, one in the other. But look at quantum frequencies. Quantum frequencies are multi-dimensional, multi-track. So it's not just one thing, it's a lot of stuff going on. And then the higher quantum frequencies, you can see the difference here. We had a guy at our event the other night, and he was talking about this is like fifth dimensional frequencies that moves you into a more of a psychic or truly spiritual realm. If you do the work, again, like I suggested in the beginning, and allow yourself to be augmented by the frequencies. Now, the dynamic intention matrix, what this means is add your intention to it, and then you're going to get an even better experience. So the truth of the matter is you're creating your own reality. Now, if you're stuck in a loop of negative or disempowering feelings and thoughts, get a coach or a therapist. A therapist goes into the past, helps you heal trauma from the past. A coach works in the present to help you achieve your goals. So if you want, because in the beginning I was like, I don't get it. There's too much stuff. What am I supposed to do here? Oh, I found a really good one. Oh, where was that? Try and go back. And the search box in the Resonant Console is very helpful, but I like this because I can look up the thing. I can read the words. Let's say, what did I find the other day was so cool? I think it's 2 pages. So there's more on the other side. And you get to experience, ooh, I want to do Sound of the Sun. Sound of the Sun is great, by the way. Especially during the day. It gives you a sense of balanced energy, a calming, balanced energy. It's really nice. but you can go through here and find anything, and then it's a very useful tool. So you can email me and I will send it to you. All right, that's it. So any questions, I would be happy to help you. Send me an email. I'm always available to answer your questions. I'm a somewhat novice at this, but I think I've done a lot of work, and I really want to encourage you to keep using the coils. If you haven't bought them, get them. It's going to change your life. Well, hi, Gloria. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Brandon and everybody else. And listen, on the replay, it works just as well. So be sure and watch this again. That way you get to get a double dose of this information, okay? Thanks so much and have a good night. Oh, God, what's wrong with this? Oh.
Well, I'm in the palm trees. It's 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms.